Okay, welcome back to Building CareCo, the podcast where I sit down once a week with my co-founder, CTO Shlomo Morozow, over a bottle of wine, and we talk about the wins, losses, successes, and failures of Building CareCo. This is episode 8, 2 months. Wild. Oh. All right, this week we have a Jezreel Amudim 2021. This is another Israeli wine. This is another mix. I've had this in the past. It is...
I'm optimistic.
So
when you say Israeli wine, it's generally
just
pretty good. Yeah,
it's pretty broad. It's a country, small country, but it really is crazy.
Bang for the buck. Bang for the buck. You get very good wines here.
Yeah, and we're already paying $2 as it is because of all the distribution.
$2? What do you mean?
Yeah, the distributors own all this stuff and they upcharge it like crazy because they have massive
right. The Jewish market, yeah.
Yeah, in the Israeli wine market.
I take that back.
Yeah, this is pretty terrible.
It's like vinegar. It's like pretty...
Unless the actual bottle is just bad, but...
Yeah, it's a pretty bad...
But it doesn't taste bad. It doesn't taste bad. It just tastes... It's a bad wine, not a bad, actual bottle.
You're saying it's not a lemon?
I'm saying it's not rotten. It's just a bad wine.
Yeah.
All right. Jezreel, Amudim, bad wine. We don't do everyone... It's an 8.2 out of 10. It's got bad or good.
Right.
I once saw this
Trump style.
Yeah, good or bad. I once saw this
Terrible.
guy was doing the weather, and he's like, the weather, they always complicate things. This guy's just like, it's gonna rain, it's gonna be hot, it's gonna be cold. That's it. End of story.
Right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, bad wine. So this was a pretty crappy week overall. We have this line that a lot of silver linings, a lot of fun things. We'll talk about some of the more optimistic things because there's no use just moping around for a little bit, but. It's important. It's important to have the down. There's that line that we always say of there's two feelings, euphoria and terror. And I just found out the Shlomo, our Jamie here, said that the other part of the wine is and lack of sleep accentuates both.
Enhances
both. Yeah. So that's definitely true. I got back from HIMSS, got totally sick, and haven't been able to sleep much. You've had a baby, and that I have to guess is not letting you sleep much. So that's kind of been that. Our whole team, other people on the team have had babies. It's been wild. So pretty low energy week. And also a lot of some small issues that compounded. I wonder what comes first, the chicken or the egg? What constitutes the feeling of this of terror? Is it lack of sleep, which then leads to small things being annoying and feeling much worse than they actually are? Or is it an actual buildup of things that happen to happen, and then the lack of sleep makes it feel how does that work? I'm curious. Meaning if we had the same problems, but good sleep and good optimism, good energy, if it would still feel like a big deal or not.
I think it would, because it was overwhelming, because we added new clients and stressed our system, and we thought we were looking at the right place. We thought basically what it turned out to be was a very basic thing, and we looked at it, or rather I say I looked at it, and I was pretty sure it looked good because I wasn't reading the graphs properly, and so I thought that was okay, and then I was trying to figure out other areas, and it turned out it was that. So we kind of went 2 days with scaling issues when it was really just a simple thing, very simple.
But you know what? So this was yesterday, 2 days ago, where it kind of felt like in the thick of it, and I took a moment to really appreciate the down. I genuinely, I was first of all,
you're lucky that you had that moment
to even appreciate the down. Yeah, you were just
Or it's being error, and you can't just say, "Let me step aside, think about this for a second." I mean, that's probably the best thing to do, but
right,
you tend to say, "Let's put out the fire, let's put out the fire, let's put out the fire." And then,
right. So you guys on the technical side,
and stress for me, it's it stresses me out. It's just after a few hours of that, you just feel drained.
Yeah,
yeah. But let's hear about your good moment that you had.
Yeah, well, when you put it that way, now it sounds like so selfish that I had a good moment. No,
It's
but like
okay. It's okay.
it's very different for me because for you maybe it's overwhelming and you're putting out a million fires, but you, or at least my perception is that like you understand the fire and you know what you need to put it out, or you know what you need to do in order to get the thing to put it out. Like it makes sense to you. I have like this complete feeling of helplessness and
Lack of
and
control.
surrender at the same time. Like I have learned, and I think we've talked about, like I've trained myself pretty well that like if something's out of my control, I don't stress it. Like there's nothing I
Right.
can do. I could either do something or I can't.
But it
Like,
could be more annoying because you don't know when it's going to
Right.
be done, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you're
Right.
just sitting there,
right, just
and,
crushes
like
me.
biting your teeth, and like
Yeah, like I
And it
don't
becomes-
understand the maze I'm in. I just don't, and I just have to, So, but yeah, I was speaking to someone, and I was just like, you know what, downs are important, and like the down could be much worse. Like
right.
it wasn't existential. It wasn't like this.
People were annoyed, but it wasn't like we're going to stop using this because of it.
Right.
It would have gotten there if we would have continued another few days, probably.
Yeah, but thankfully we got out of it. But yeah, so I think a lot of these weeks we come on and we're like, oh, everything's amazing, and sometimes it's not. And I think that's not just fine in like a 2025 kind of like therapy kind of way, but just like it actually makes you appreciate the ups more, like in a very practical way, and also it makes you like there's something about the actual down where you realize like you're counting your blessings that this is your down. Like your down, our problem was that we had like a bunch of new users that came on and we had like a scale issue
Right.
that you didn't figure out.
It's a good problem.
Like we have, these are good problems. Like they're crushing and they're horrible and they squeeze the life out of you. But you know what? There was a Holocaust.
No. Okay.
I think I told you when I was a little kid, I remember like I was like 6 years old and I once got out of the shower and there was no towel. And I was sitting there shivering. And that was my coping mechanism. I was like, at 6 years old, I was like, but there was a Holocaust. There were way more freezing. that was fun.
That's a good technique.
So,
Relative,
generational trauma.
Comparing yourself to a relatively worse situation and realizing it's not that bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was kind of the down parts, but definitely a lot of silver linings. Look, like you said, we did bring on some new clients. It was a lot of fun. I had a fun story today that I started telling you. So
we got a lot of validation from clients that
that
liked it and were happy and giving good feedback. I wanted to, transition to, convert to paying clients. So there's a lot of good there.
You know what I'm finding very interesting? There's a much larger gap between unhappiness of customers and complaints than I think there is. Meaning, in my head, I see complaint, I think unhappy customer.
Right.
And then I see 10 complaints, I think irritated customer. And then I see more than that, and I'm like, this person wants to kill me, right? But every time I'm slowly being proven wrong. This is a brand new lesson for me. Every time we actually, because we're always responsive and we always get on, and like we get on the phone with them, and every time we get on a meeting, the actual reality is way different. The reality is actually appreciation for the product, appreciation for the support. We love the product. Please like help us solve these issues. But it's not like I'm always shocked when I get on and I'm expecting eye rolling and I'm expecting like, what in the world is this? And people are like, no, we're really, really enjoying it. We just need XYZ fixed. Like, just let us know what we need to do, And even like with feature requests, it's the same thing. Like people ask, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? And the way that communicates to me is like, oh my gosh, we got to get all this done.
Right.
And then or else they like don't like the product. And it turns out like, no, they love the product. They love it. They use it. They just like are wondering. Like they're allowed to wonder. They're like, hey, can you do this? And the answer could, and I'm getting better at just understanding, like the answer could just be, not like, no, like this is what the product is right now. And maybe at some point down the line, but that's fine. Like there's you know how one of your mirrors says things may appear closer than they are in real life. Like that's how it is for me.
Makes sense. Yeah. Did you grow up in a very judgmental environment?
I grew up in Iowa.
Through psychotherapy.
I grew up in Iowa.
Why do you think every sentence from everybody, is
I was judged by cows and corn. Yeah, but you keep telling me that.
But it's better than the opposite. It's better than someone that's like, oh yeah, no big deal, because then you don't think about your customers, you don't care about them, and before you know it, they just drop off.
Right.
Yeah.
But you like continuously tell me that maybe because you're further removed from the customer. and you're looking at like, I mean, you're looking at like numbers and usage and whatever, but you tell me pretty consistent. I don't know if that's the reason or not, but you tell me pretty consistently, like it's okay, like calm down, like it's not. This isn't the end of the world.
Right. I mean, I do
This is an
see the
issue.
feedback usually if it's in text. But yeah, I mean, I also know that we have to keep a balance. It's like we can't take every single message and like blow it out of proportion. You know,
Right.
if that's what's going to make them leave, and it doesn't make sense for us to invest time in that, then so be it. You know, we're not building the product for everybody to be happy. We're building it to find a common denominator of group of people. It could be 50% of the people that we're dealing with, or that we deal with, that are excited, but they have their demands, and it's like it doesn't work for us. We need to find a common denominator that works and gets us the biggest number that we can. You know, Coca-Cola, for example, there's always a balance in the recipe that they can make it sweeter. They can balance the flavors differently, and different people will like different balances. And I don't know where I saw this, but it's true. It's just also common sense that when you make a product, some people will prefer a bit more salty, people a bit more sugary. How do you decide where to do it? You have to find the greatest common denominator. Basically, what's the sweet spot that's going to give me the most customers. So basically, you're sacrificing people that are, like you could think of it as a bell curve or whatnot. People on this edge and people on that edge. But you have to find your group. Say this is the cohort that I'm focusing on, and all these other things are, we'll lose. We can't have everybody, right? I mean, if we're truly focused, and we're focused on a certain group, and we want to make that right, and not get distracted by satisfying everybody, then there are going to be people that are either going to be slightly annoyed, or some more than slightly annoyed, or some they're going to say, "Oh, this doesn't work for me." So I think we have to accept that. It's just the reality. But the issue of trying to satisfy everybody is not just that you end up burning resources on that, and we're slowing down our scalability to allow ourselves to sell to much more customers, because we're focusing on the small that we're having instead of focusing on scale. It also degrades the product experience. The best products are the most simple products. The minute you start adding options at every stage of the product, suddenly it's not simple, it's not intuitive. You get stuck with options, which is not great. So it's always like learning how to say no is powerful, or learning how to accept that we're not there to make everybody happy. There's also some people, they believe in making a product that some people hate and some people love. Because then they feel like the people that love the product are your biggest advocates, because they know that there are the people that hate it and they actually like it. So there's different.
So they start defending you.
Yeah, exactly. And they know there's
and the haters. It's
like politics. It's like the polarized politics, where it's like when one side gets nasty.
You told me somebody on Twitter says it about his feed. Like that's what he tries to do.
Oh yeah. Nikita Beer or something his name is. So he says like his algorithm for posts, for like mass, for optimized for the algorithm is basically, I think 90% of the people like it, or 80-20 or something, and 20% hate it.
Yeah.
And then the 20 that hate it are commenting, and the 90 or 80% that like it, they thumbs it up. But
so it's interesting, because we contemplated, I don't know if you remember this, I was thinking about this today, but like a couple months ago, we were thinking about maybe breaking out CareCo for doctors' offices.
Right.
To basically take on the use case of just the front desk phone. And we started poking around, validating. We had some customers that I had customers on the Proviva side that we roped in, and we're like, hey, your doctor's office, would this like be helpful to you? Which, by the way, it absolutely would. There's no question about it, because right now it's insane. Like that one doctor that we spoke to, they have a phone that they answer. Then they have a separate service that listens to the phone and transcribes messages, and then the messages get emailed to them. So they've got like, first of all, they're paying for like 6 different things. Second of all, they're checking emails to look at transcriptions of voicemails, or like, it's like insane, or everything is just being CareCo, and you don't need to look at your voicemails, because we just create tasks out of your voicemails, and you don't need to look at voicemails. Like, we're just like, here's what you have to do, and help you along. So we started validating that, and there's been a lot of like serendipity, or like hashgacha pratis with the things that we decided to like really go in on, and things that we've kind of moved away from. I think a lot of that also has to do with our philosophy around what we choose to tackle and what we don't. And at the end of the day, we chose not to really tackle that. But now it's kind of validating the fact that we didn't, because we're learning to just kind of really hone in and go deeper on the specific use case. which really speaks to what makes CareCo really special, that it's not an ambient listener, and it's not an Abridge, and it's not a Nabla, and it's not a Deep Scribe. It's a deeply integrated workflow tool that takes over your entire workflow. And the trouble that all those guys, we touched on this last week, the trouble that all those guys are having, all the ambient listeners are having right now, is they have to figure out how to make themselves workflow tools. And the problem with workflow tools is you can't have a workflow tool that is like a 50% done workflow tool. You have to have 100% of the workflow like built in and perfect. And you can't do that if you're trying to make 10,000 different personas happy.
Right.
You can only do that
vertical
if you
or
know.
you're right.
Exactly.
So the reason why I was okay contemplating the doctor's office, and I'm still in theory, because I feel like it's okay to explore and to question, am I on the right path? Am I tackling the right cohort of people? Am I focusing on the right business opportunity? Basically, the best business opportunity is something that has mass, that could scale quickly, because you're solving a serious problem that people are ready to pay for, and there's a lot of people that have that problem. And also, from my perspective, that it has durability. So a doctor's office to me sounds more durable than what we're doing right now, because a doctor's office, those things are not changing. Tomorrow or in 2 years, if something changed in CMS or in one of these Medicaid programs, the doctor office is still going to stay there, and they're still going to have the fundamental problems that they have of managing customers. The people that we cater for, I mean, fundamentally, it's not going to go away, but the people that we're servicing, in 2 years, maybe their businesses are going to close. They're not really rooted the way doctors' offices are. So there's advantages, and I'm always willing to contemplate, okay, we're doing a lot of great things. We're building a great product. We have great technology. We have a phone system that's amazing with AI, note saving. We understand, like, there's a lot that's going on, but maybe we can slightly shift right, slightly shift left. I'm okay contemplating that. I don't think that it's right to say, let's do everything. Sure not. Yeah.
But look at how like this, we put like out like one feature that was like we started thinking about this week how to really hone in and say no even to small feature things for the time being, while we build up the core product.
Right.
Because every little feature is not just a feature, but you got to build it. You got to build it to production. You got to make sure.
Particularly you're talking about one customer, just hounding us with a bunch of stuff that it's like, oh yeah, that's easy, let's do it. And then before we realize it, we're doing a lot of easy stuff for this person. And it's like, what's the point? It's not like anybody else needs that. Or,
by the way, speaking of durability, RFK, this is actually breaking news. RFK just hit kind of close to home. They just cut 8 payment models programs at CMS. One of them is so the rest of them seemed like understandable. One of them is a thing called Making Care Primary. And it's a value-based care style model, I believe. And one of my largest clients at Proviva is an FQHC, and they were enrolled in it. And it just got ended, and it got ended abruptly. It was supposed to go for 7 years or something like that. And there isn't even details on like when it's ending. So they've been doing a bunch of work on this thing. The whole thing is now gone.
Oh.
They were spending, I hope they didn't sign the contract, but they had to spend $75,000 just to buy a new module from Epic that didn't even work to like start working on this thing. Anyway, part of that was an expansion of care coordination and care management. And we were going to like blow up our CCM program with this client. And now that's basically out the window. So I hope to God that they don't cut, some of these core programs like CCM and now the APCM model that's coming out. But it's pretty interesting. We'll see.
We'll what's it called? We'll go with the punches.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely still think that the concept of care coordination is a sound concept, meaning the idea of preventively managing people makes sense. End of story.
Right. So there's a chance that they'll cut out the whole CCM,
maybe they'll cut
RPM.
Programs. I don't know. Maybe. You never know.
But if the evidence is there that it's saving money.
Right. But then Making Care Primary was pretty shocking because it seemed like a pretty good value-based care style program.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting.
I mean, unless they think the evidence is not there, unless they don't think that there's strong evidence that these programs are saving Medicare money because it's preventing the patient, from being more sick and billing more to the hospital or whatnot. Unless they don't think that, I don't see why they would do that. I mean,
yeah. No, I don't. I definitely don't think they will. It was just shocking to me.
Unless they're alternative motives, I don't know.
When it's like, God forbid, when there's so many like terrorist attacks these days, and you see someone, it's like someone it's like until then it's like conceptual. Then it's like someone, so it's like,
Right.
you see all these programs, you see programs every day that you never, all of a sudden it's like, no, I know that one.
It's done. It's really done. Like
Yeah.
that guy's dead. Oh my,
Yeah, exactly.
I can't. Yeah.
So it kind of like brings
It's
it home. But some fun news this week: a comms director of a congressman reached out to me. They're big fans of the Healthcare Trailblazers podcast. The congressman, and he wants me to come down to Congress, and so I'm going to go in a couple of weeks, and he wants to come on the podcast. I think he wants to whale on RFK, which I'm totally fine with. Then hopefully we'll have RFK on to whale back. So that's kind of the plan here, but it'll be cool. We're going to do it like in the Congressional building in his offices, and
oh, nice. He's not asking you to bring money.
No.
You remember that Bill Gurley thing?
No, what is it?
With the it was probably a senator. His whole talk about
Regulatory capture.
yeah, regulatory capture.
So he said that he was invited to a meeting and was told to bring money.
No, he was trying to get something, so he was calling either a congressman or a senator to come and to talk to them, and they were like, okay, but you need to bring other people, like the congressman, the assistant was telling him, you need to bring more people, and every person needs to bring $5,000 or $10,000, and then like, can you bring can each person bring a spouse? Do they have spouses? They're trying to milk money out of the event.
Wow.
Yeah, like a pay to play kind of thing.
So a lot of these podcasts read ads, right? We don't do that, but we have one ad. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. We are hiring at CareCo. Right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Looking for an exceptionally talented engineer. Has to be, I'm going to say this in my words, and then you could maybe speak to some of the technical requirements, but you have to be super well-rounded, which I'll let him speak to. You have to know how to operate in a startup setting. That means moving at the speed of lightning, not light. We leave light in our shadow. That's how fast we go in lightning. And yeah, just, go-getter attitude, knowing how to work with a team, and know about CareCo, love what we do. So yeah, pretty excited about this expansion.
Yeah, I would slightly correct that and say we don't care about speed.
I made a whole thing about lightning. I had a wordplay there. That's the piece.
I think good people will be fast. Everyone in their different way. Some in features, some in quality. But if you're talented and you're self-motivated, excited about, interested in this space, and I would say like someone that could take a whole feature or a whole product end to end, kind of understand the business requirement, the user requirement, more of like product driven. Like I don't believe in the whole full back end, front end guy. It's just I've been in companies where they have back end for guys and front end guys, and it's like it becomes like this whole like isolation where like, oh, I do this, you do that, and then it's like, oh no, he did that, and then I did that, and it's like, well, let's make a meeting to figure out how we do that, and it's like, come on, you don't need that nonsense.
As it says in the Bible, Achar v'kedem sartani. You must be a front end and a back end.
Okay. I once took a public speaking when I was like many years ago, and the guy was going out about people that rabbis that make speeches and they have to bring in a pasuk. And he's like, people don't understand what you're saying. There's no point of saying a pasuk. Like drop it. Just drop it.
Yeah, we have a good amount of listeners in the community, so I feel good about every now and then dropping a.
So I would say like I'm a big believer in like full stack end to end, but product driven. Someone that can understand how to make a customer happy with making a feature that's useful for a person and knows how to deal with the whole stack, database, front end, back end, but full stack kind of thing.
So if that's you, but also you go lightning fast, theoretically, and
it wouldn't hurt if you're super fast, but
it's not even. I don't even mean like programming very fast. I mean like you move fast. Like
no.
you know how to say, okay, I'm going to get this thing done today. I'm not going to.
So I'll say if a person's self-driven, right? If they don't need like external motivation, which is obviously a basic requirement, and they're end-to-end programmers. I don't know if full stack is the right term even, but end-to-end, like they even have a product sense. Like my personality is like, tell me what the customer wants. Let me talk to the customer, and then I'll have something ready. It's not like, will tell me what the spec is, and those are the people that I want to that I think we should. I would love to have, because then we just empower them. We say, here, just have fun, and the stack, and our stack and the way everything's set up is in a way that it's empowering. It's like you have amazing tools. You can just get at it where there's nothing in the way. And
did you get in touch with Khan, by the way?
With who?
Khan. About this?
No, not yet. No.
Right. You might have some good people.
Right.
Competition's already brewing. Get in touch today.
Scarcity.
Yeah, you can email me.
Wolf at CareCo.
Yeah, you can email me, Mendel at careco.ai. Mendel at CareCo, CareCo.ai today.
Yeah, if you want a very enthusiastic interview, then email Mendel at careco.ai. If you want more of like a cold, factual.
No. I gatekeep my CTO. No one knows his email. You don't touch his email.
You're worried I'm going to dissuade people? Be like,
No, I'm protecting your energies. Yeah, I had a couple meetings this week with the guy. Yeah, I want to talk about this integration. Maybe we can sit down with your CTO. I was like, let's do 6 months of you guys being a valuable client, and then I'll think about letting you in my
I appreciate it.
CTO.
You're protecting me, not the people
100%.
From me. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, 100%. That's my job. My sole job is just like gatekeeping my engineering team.
It's funny. It reminds me. Someone said that Mike Tyson used to have bodyguards, and they weren't there to protect him. They weren't there to protect him from people. They were there to protect people from him, so that he doesn't get sued and whatnot.
Yeah, that's why he got a tiger.
He has a tiger?
He had one.
Where's it legal to have a tiger? I think in like Texas,
Mike
right?
Tyson land. I think he lived in Vegas.
In Vegas? Oh, Nevada. Right? Yeah,
Nevada
sounds very lax with legal stuff.
In Vegas, anything goes. It was actually very calm in Vegas, by the way. It was like...
I saw recently a post, someone saying that in Vegas, everything's empty. Everything's vacant. Yeah? They were saying that there's like... They were trying to say like, this is a sign that the economy is in shambles because no one's spending anything. They were saying like at a regular night, nothing's happening in Vegas. The place is like a ghost town. But you wouldn't know because you were there at a busy time.
No, but it was still dead.
It was still dead?
Totally dead. Oh. Completely dead. Yeah. Like all the tables were empty. All the people were just standing there bored, waiting for people to sit down. I mean, I genuinely don't understand gambling at all. So like maybe people really were there. I just didn't see them. But it was totally empty.
Yeah, we might be like borderline like recession. Some people could say we were in a recession. Some people say we're going to enter a recession.
Yeah.
But definitely financially, it's a troubling time. Inflation's super high, and people are having...
It's coming down, though. Came down today.
Right. A bit more than
Came down today a little bit. Eggs are coming down.
Eggs are getting cheaper?
Eggs are getting cheaper. Trump out of Tesla. Things are chill. things are I don't know, that like a red one. Why did they get into the red one? Like get into a Cybertruck, get into a black one. I don't know why the red one. Not to nitpick, but
red is like why is Elmo red?
I don't know.
Elmo is like the most... Your kids get excited from Elmo. I mean, we don't have Sesame Street at home, but Elmo is known as like one of the most successful like
when
characters
I see a red
for
car,
kids, and
I think it's
red.
a rental. All rentals are red.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like all like those like little 5-seaters, they're always red for some reason.
Wonder
why. Get red.
Because
because no one that actually buys a car wants a red car. So
yeah, but why would a rental want a red car? You saying they get them for cheaper?
Saying that, because that's all they get.
Because the color.
Yep. Okay, so I had a fun story today. I kind of told you the first half, but I have a partner that I was like a partnership that I'm working on, and this person basically...
You're picking your words very carefully.
Yeah, basically this person told me. So I was texting back and forth with this person, and she's like, oh, I was telling her about... We're talking about a mutual client, and the mutual client had told her that she's gonna take her out to dinner. So I was like, we're talking about that client. I said, don't let her forget she owes you dinner. And she's like, yeah, you're right. And also, you owe me a bottle of wine. And I was like, you're right.
Who told you this? The partner?
The partner. Because I saw her like a couple weeks ago, and I told her I'm going to get her a bottle of wine. Because I owe her.
Don't get her this one.
No, I'm not going to get her this one. So she says, I said, you're right. What's your address? So she gives me her address. 26 minutes later, she had a knock on her door with a case of wine.
Case?
Yeah.
Not a bottle? You told her you're going to get her a bottle? You got her a case?
Case.
Case of what?
Case of 6. Well,
Of good wine?
there wasn't a lot of options on DoorDash. But I got the best thing. It was like a bubbly peach, whatever. I don't look.
Oh, more like
it was
a
like the
champagne
best,
style?
yeah, more of a champagne style kind of wine. But that's why I got a bunch of them. I told her, I'll get you a good bottle later, but for now,
Nice.
But so when I talk about speed, this is what I mean. 26 minutes from address to door knock.
Power DoorDash.
Spectacular. The power of DoorDash. It was DoorDash, by the way. Uber, I don't think had. Yeah, I checked Uber. They didn't have. But you know what Uber just rolled out?
What?
Unless this is old and I just got the notification to my app, could be. They just rolled out car rentals. They will drop a car off at your house. You rent it for the day, and it was normal prices. And then
I heard about this.
I'm like, oh my goodness.
I think I heard about it, yeah.
That is an absolute game changer.
Didn't I hear Tesla's going to do something like that?
Tesla's just going to have cars riding around, and
I wonder if when Tesla comes out with their self-driving car, if Uber going to be like irrelevant overnight. Because there's like an interesting dilemma. Uber has the network effect. So basically, in a market like Uber, it's a network effect market. Basically, if you have a lot of saturation, if you have a lot of users, basically drivers and passengers in the same area, the more you have, the more valuable you are because you can be faster, you can be cheaper. The drivers get paid more because they're constantly occupied. So basically, density, they call it density, is super valuable, and it's a network effect. Basically, the more you get, the more valuable the product gets, the more you get. So it has this network effect thing. So it's like a moat. It's like and that's why Uber and Lyft were fighting tooth and nail in different areas. They were losing money just to try to get the market. But at this point, no, you can't compete with Uber because for you to enter and compete with Uber in an area, you're gonna have to lose.
You think Lyft lost the battle?
No, they both won in different. I think different areas, different one of them, different. Some of them won here, some of them won there, but I think they're both doing pretty well. I don't know the details about that, but I think
I'm pretty sure everyone's doing both. That's it.
Yeah.
Every driver does both, and every passenger looks at both.
Right. So that's when they were fighting. Right now, also you have in old cities.
I mean, I landed at JFK, and I looked, and Uber was like $47 to go 5 minutes. I was like, oh my goodness. I looked at Lyft right away. Okay, my preference is Uber. I have a preference, and I'm sure there's other people that their preference is Lyft. But I mean, I have both apps, and
interesting. So basically, Uber has that advantage. You can't compete with that. That's a massive advantage. But then Tesla has the cars that if it's self-driving, you don't need the driver. It's that's the biggest expense. Right. So suddenly, you don't have the density, so you can't, but you can offer cars for cheaper, even though you don't have the density because your expenses are much cheaper. So now you can say, yeah, it's going to be there 20 minutes later because the car's coming from, or it doesn't even have to be because you're just cars. You can just dump a lot of cars that's sitting randomly, plotted all over, an area, and it could be there faster at the same time and for cheaper. So they can totally. So I'm curious. Some people think that Uber, their network effect is still very important, and probably Tesla or Waymo or somebody's going to buy them. I saw Bill Ackman took a big bet on Uber, and he invested massively in them.
Like recently?
Yeah, in the last few months. But I would actually bet against that. I mean, I wouldn't put money on this right now, but my intuition is that Tesla is just going to clean it all out, wipe it all out, and also eat Waymo for lunch because Waymo is more advanced, but Waymo is using much more. Their cars are much more expensive because they're using LiDAR. They're not using machine learning the way right. Tesla's using. So I think Tesla's going to come and eat everybody's lunch. So that's why I went recently big on Tesla.
Yeah.
Right now they were $230 the last few days, 25. So
you bought again?
Oh, massively. Yeah. Because it's. I mean, right now from a valuation perspective, it's not amazing if you just look at what they're doing right now. But if you believe that their robotaxi and their humanoid robots are going to play out the way they are, then it's massively underpriced. So yeah, I bet big on that.
This is not investing advice, and please contact your local banker for whatever. But yeah, so you went big.
Exactly. Good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not J Cal, but
Just our opinions. No,
Yeah,
not investing.
Just our opinions. But you went big. You put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I put a nice portion into Tesla. Yeah,
Nice.
because now it's all down now because of all the protests and vandalism, and also supposedly a lot of anti-Elon people are playing the markets. So they're doing stuff to try to drop. Yeah, they're doing things to try to drop it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that guy really stepped in. I mean, good for him. Whether like him or hate him, at the end of the day, he. I mean, we definitely like him, but even if you hate him, you got to like. He didn't need this. He didn't need this position he put himself in, and now he's getting so much flack.
He did things the way he does them. So the way he came into Twitter was he's a first principles person. It's like, yeah, chainsaw, cut everybody out. Like, what are the critical parts? Okay, you can make mistakes, but he's very fast. Like for him, iteration cycle is better than making things right, because you iterate, you get your feedback, and then you can correct yourself. So this was always a method that was introduced in the software world, where it's soft, you can push over the air deliveries, but he actually introduced it into much more complex systems like rockets. So until now, actually one of the examples that people always said about in coding that people would say was, okay, you wouldn't use this technique when you're building rockets, like you wouldn't take risks when you're building in NASA, which actually Elon proved it to be just the opposite. It's like, even with rockets, you can iterate, make mistakes. The rockets will fail. Some of his rockets failed. But if you have that in place where you learn from your failure, and net, at the end, you're going to get there much faster, because you're allowing yourself to learn faster and to correct faster. So small, quick. It's also really the Toyota way. Toyota is, I don't know if you know about Toyota, they were the first to revolutionize manufacturing. So there was the old Ford way, which is like, you have massive manufacturer, production line, and you have thousands of assembly parts, and everything's figured out, precisely. But then Toyota came and flipped it on its head and actually showed that, counterintuitively, having the flexibility of changing things quickly, even though it costs you more, ultimately costs you less, because you're able to make quick changes and not lock into your original ideas that you have to spend months or years to plan out, when you don't really have all that feedback that you would have if you just try and learn. So anyways, back to what he does. So same thing with Twitter. When he came in, he basically turned the whole thing upside down. A lot of people got hurt, and maybe it wasn't a pleasant way to do things. I personally couldn't do what he's doing, because you have to be a certain type of person, and it's not. Yeah, it's very rough, but that's how he does things. And I mean, with his business, he has the right to do it. And if he's hired to do a job, then he's going to do it the way he knows how to do it. So he's very effective. One of the most effective people in the world, I would say. From so many perspectives. So yeah. I think it's good that he's doing what he's doing. I think the press is spinning a lot of things in a very negative way about him, like, oh, the richest man is accessing your social security.
No, that stuff.
They're trying to spin it, and it's like, really, that's your concern. Silly, who was the guy that was accessing my social security before that? Actually, the richest man, I trusted more, because he doesn't need my credit card.
Right. Did we speak about this and how everything comes down to intent?
No,
on the podcast. I don't recall. Everything, I have this hypothesis or theory, or I don't know where it's holding in its but
evolution.
Yeah.
It's developing theory.
It's developing theory. Everything comes down to intent. Everything. Every conversation, the way you approach every interaction, the way that you view any person, any social setting, comes down to intent. If you think that person is bad, or if you think that person's out to get you, every single thing that they do, you're going to view through that lens.
Right.
And if you think that person is well-intentioned, and you think that they're there for the good of you, or just not for the bad of you, or, you're going to view them in a completely different way. And the entire country, that is our entire political system. If you think that Elon is a big, bad, mean billionaire who's out to get you, then everything he does is bad. And if you think Trump is a big, bad billionaire who's out to get you, everything he does is bad. If you think that Trump is actually, hey, he's a rich guy, he didn't need the stuff, same with Elon, and now he stepped into this role, and he's doing things, he's fixing things, he's doing it correctly, great. And you know what? Us on the Republican side, we have the same thing. We look at Biden, and we look at all these people, and we look at them, and we're like, this guy's a politician, career politician, he's corrupt, he's this, he's that. And then every single thing that the person does, we see through that lens. And
but with all fairness, Biden wasn't the president.
yeah, that's
he
all
wasn't running the show.
The signatures, saw the signatures thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was clear.
100%.
Like, it was clear.
But it's not just him; it's everybody that you see. And you know what? I literally can't.
And I think, yeah, I don't want to ruin your thought.
No, go ahead.
Especially because you turn them into shorts later, and if I interrupt, it doesn't work out that well. So always like, let him talk, let him finish that moment. But I think actually, I don't know who let Biden, through his later stages, but I think it was a total. I mean, I'm gonna take like the side of saying that probably his wife. I don't understand how she allowed him to be humiliated. Like, a lot of people believe that he had a very successful and respectable career, and it's like, why take him? Why allow him to humiliate himself in public? Like with the last debate. Like, at some point, preserve his image. Don't let it go down. And I don't know that she was the one doing it, but from what I read, it's like she wasn't necessarily opposed to it. So
yeah,
that's like going on a tangent. But I think to what you're saying is, I think the media. I don't know if the media is at fault, but the media is playing a big part of it, where everything is polarized lately. Everything is like so extreme, and each side accentuates the other, because one side will like get stronger and be like, oh my God, look what they're doing. So they're going to push harder. And then the other side gets more upset because they're pushing harder. So they push back harder. You know how fights accelerate, right? It starts off with the and then one guy punches another guy, and then it accelerates. And that's what the whole polarization is doing. I think the internet is a big part of it, because when we used to talk human to human, it's always, you can sit behind your computer and write nasty things. When you look at the other person, you realize they're human. You're like, you start saying things a little nicer, and you start realizing it's another person. So I think the internet accentuates it. I also think the media enhanced it, because the media was trying to like combat this new era of disinformation where people are allowed to have free speech on social media. So they're trying to strongly combat it with like a very strong attitude, and and very much like almost canceling out anything that's not approved by them. And that has backlash, because people are like, who do you think you are? And then they respond to that, and they respond to that. And before you know it, you have these polarized sides where it's like, why can't we be more in the middle where we actually should be, and have more nuanced conversations? Yeah. So it's sad. I think if it continues this way, it's going to be really bad, because you see like massive extremes happening right now. Everything becomes, it's anti-Trump or it's for Trump. I'm 100% for Trump, or I'm anti, like what you're saying. It's like, I hate the guy, so everything that he does is nasty, or I love the guy and everything that he does becomes incredible. Right. It's much more nuanced than that.
Right. I think there's a lesson there. I mean, just zooming out for a second, back to the intention thing. Like, I think there's a lesson there in, Sean
McGuire.
Yes. Posted on X, like a good rule of thumb is always just think like, if the other party, meaning if my party was doing this move, would I all of a sudden would I approve of it? And but what he's trying to get at is the same thing that I'm saying. Why does all of a sudden that change the equation? Because the intent changes. The person that I like, if they would be doing this thing, why do I all of a sudden think that it's okay? Because I like him. And why do I like him? Because I think he's a good person. And so all of a sudden I think that he's well-intentioned.
Right.
Right. And therefore, whatever he must be doing must be good, because he's well-intentioned. Right. You don't think that your friends are corrupt. And in fact, even if it was your friend who did something, but you knew it was corrupt, you still wouldn't approve of it. You'd be like, this is disgusting. It's corrupt. What's the difference? The difference is that you don't think it's corrupt. You don't think it's bad. You don't think it's evil, because you think that this person is your friend, and you know this person, and you think he's well-intentioned. It all comes down to intention. Everything. And
benefit of the doubt.
What?
Benefit of the doubt, you're saying. But to individuals, I would say
it's different than benefit of the doubt. It's an assumption of intention. The benefit of the doubt is assuming that they have good intention. But I'm saying that, like, you already it's about the way you think that person is intentioned. And if you think they're intentioned well, good. If they're intentioned bad, everything's bad.
Right.
And I saw this interview with Bernie Sanders today, and seemed like a leftist kind of like a podcast guy. And, he was going on about the billionaires and this and that and these evil people. And it's like, it was like so eye roll worthy on the one hand, and it was like, you obviously just decided that all these people are bad, and therefore everything you're saying all of a sudden falls into that bucket. But like objectively speaking, like nothing that you're saying is like actually makes any sense.
Yeah.
But also to me,
I don't think
this
he's
guy
a very
like
high IQ guy, Bernie Sanders, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, I'd listened to him so many times. He doesn't. I mean, I respect the fact that he's very consistent, but like beyond that, the stuff he does just doesn't make sense.
Do you see what Gavin Newsom is doing?
Oh yeah, and I don't know how all those people are playing into that.
Why not? Why not?
Because they're allowing him to build his podcast.
So conversations are conversations. He's having Steve Bannon on now.
Oh wow, that's brilliant. By the way,
it's
whoever wrote his PR advisor is brilliant. It's like 1 second, you don't need this political system.
No.
Use the underground podcast system.
What happened was this: after this election, the Democrats said this very clearly. They said we need to find our own Joe Rogan, and I don't think he's as talented as Joe Rogan, but he is doing it. He is going fully across the aisle.
So you're saying this is
Charlie Kirk on? This is a 2028 play. That's what it is.
But it's a personal play. You're saying it's a systemic. It's the George Soros funded whatever they're behind this, or this is. I thought it was Newsom himself saying, "Heck with it. Let me just start a podcast."
No,
I can roll with it myself.
No,
I can handle my own show.
It's a balancing of the power. That's what it is.
You're saying there's a lot of people behind this, you think?
No. I'm saying that he himself is thinking to himself, the party is saying, hey, we need a stronger platform.
You're saying the party's behind it? It's not just him?
And he's the best person to do this, and he is the best person. He is crushing it. I think he's going to do tremendous. If he keeps doing what he did with Charlie Kirk, that was a personable, it was, say whatever you will. Again, say whatever you will about him. Ben Shapiro thinks that he's an absolute, whatever, like horrible human who's no problem. Say whatever. At the end of the day, that interview was interesting.
I didn't watch it.
Personable. It was funny. He was down to earth. He was self-deprecating. Like
all I saw was that he said
good.
All I saw is that he said that his son is a Charlie Kirk fan, which is interesting.
He was very good, and now he's having Steve Bannon on, which I don't know anything about Steve Bannon, but I know he's very, very on the right of things. But yeah. Anyways, I had a wild day. This is not my last stop for the day. And so unfortunately we have to end it just a little bit early today, but I know we kind of rambled a little bit. Future episodes, we'll get it. We'll lock it back in. We're still both kind of recuperating a little bit.
You have to apologize.
No, just contextualizing, But anyways, cheers to episode 8 and consistency. You know what? Consistency is important one way or another,
And what, in the podcast?
In general.